Hello everyone. Before you watch my explanation, I want you to try these three questions um, which are asked based on the passage that is given here. Okay, so there is a short passage which has two paragraphs followed by three questions. Question number one, then there are four options A, B, C, D, and question number two, and then three. Okay, so I want you to try these three questions on your own, and then you can watch the explanation. You can pause the video here and take as much time as possible to attempt these three questions. Now, I assume here that you have attempted these three questions. Now, I would like to explain to you what is the best way of arriving at the correct answers, right? So, let me start, with the first paragraph. Let me explain to you, the key word in the first paragraph. The key word in the first paragraph is however. So, whenever you have however, but, yet, right? However, but, yet, then nevertheless, right? So when you have such words still, you should understand here that there is a change in the focus. So the focus has changed from what is written something positive to something which is negative. This paragraph is about textbooks. So the author says here, my research suggests, which means this is what is author wants to say. So author wants to say textbooks that address Native Americans distort history. So textbooks distort history. That is the first point. Then he gives examples. Then he gives example. Example is a subordinate point which is used to support the main point. And then there is another keyword, in essence. In essence means in short, right? So in short. So when do we use words such as in short, in essence? Essence means crux, the main idea. So here author himself uses this word in essence, which means that the author has given a hint that this is what is the main idea. Textbooks stereotype and deprecate the numerous Native American cultures. So textbooks distort history. They change the history in such a way that it suits one cultural value systems. But there are many numerous cultures which textbooks deprecate, which means they underestimate various other Native American cultures, and they depict only one side of the culture. So they stereotype, which means they make the impression of Native Americans typical, right? One sided. So this is the first point. So the first paragraph has this first point. This is an important keyword here. Now the next paragraph has this word again, yet. So from this to this, the author says that there are people who are against him. They say that students themselves can understand that the textbooks are showing one side, one bias, right? So students are wise enough to understand that textbooks are biased. But the author says there is substantial evidence exists to the contrary, to opposite what most people say. Two researchers, for example, have conducted studies that suggest that children's attitude about culture are strongly influenced by the textbook. So once the textbook show one side of the culture, children stick to that particular one side. So children are influenced by the textbook. The textbook, this is the second point. Now, there is a question here, what is the main idea, the primary purpose of the passage? So the primary purpose of the passage is there are two main points. One is the textbook stereotype the Native American culture, and students do get influenced by the textbooks. In short, we have to pick up these keywords, in essence and yet, and you will be surprised that the correct option, here, the last option D, do use these two words, textbooks used in schools, stereotype, the word taken from here, stereotype, in essence, and textbooks influence children's attitude. This is taken from what is written here. Children's attitude about particular culture are strongly influenced. What is written after yet? So once you pick up these two keywords, in essence and yet, right? You should get the correct answer for this question number 2. So the answer of question number 2 is the last option D. No other option covers these two important points. Therefore option D is the answer. Now let's look at question number 3. Question number 3 here. It can be inferred from the passage that some researchers mentioned in the second paragraph, some researchers mentioned here in the second paragraph, right? Some researchers mentioned in the second paragraph could be most likely to agree with which of the following statements. So in short, what is asked here? The opinion of some researchers is asked. So what is the opinion of some researchers? Some researchers even claim that by the time students are in high school means, which means that they grow old a little, right? From the primary they go to high school, then they know they cannot take textbooks literally, which means that there is a sentence before, there is a word before this sentence, biases, right? So here some researchers say that by the time students go to high school, they understand that textbooks should not be taken literally. So what is said in textbooks have some bias. Bias means having an inclination towards one side, right? So textbooks do show one side, and this is what students can understand. By the time they go to high school, they themselves understand that textbooks are showing one side, therefore they should not be taken literally. This is what is the opinion of some researchers. Now that is written clearly in the second option B. For the most part, seniors in high school, it is written in high schools, know that textbooks can be biased, textbooks can be one-sided, right? So they should not be taken literally. The answer of this question is B. A, students form attitudes about cultures other than their own, primarily inside the school environment, right? So this is completely irrelevant. It is not about forming any kind of attitude. Option A is eliminated. C, textbooks play a crucial role in shaping the attitudes. Now this is very, very general, whereas the point is specific. This is eliminated. D, elementary school students are as likely to recognize biases in textbooks as are high school students. Now, the author clearly, some researchers clearly mentioned that by the time students go to high school, now researchers don't compare actually between elementary school and high school, right? That researchers don't say that primary school students, okay, and high school students recognize biases, with equal capacity. In fact, some researchers tend to say that students need to go to high school to develop the to understand that textbooks are biased. So D is eliminated because it mentions something which is not mentioned in the paragraph. The answer of this question number 3 is second option B. Now let us look at question number 1. Which of the following would most logically be the topic of the paragraph immediately following the passage? Which means that we need to find out the topic of the third paragraph, right? That there is a paragraph number 1, paragraph number 2. So after this passage, if there is a paragraph to be written, what would be the topic of that paragraph? So third paragraph's topic is asked here. Now, when you solve such question, you have to make sure that you follow the structure given by the passage. Now, what is the structure of the passage? In the first paragraph, there is one point, and that point is completely discussed in the first paragraph, and then the second point comes. And look at here. How does the author begin the second paragraph? He begins by the second paragraph saying that one argument against my contention. So here the point in the second paragraph is closely connected to point in the first paragraph. So the paragraph is gradually moving further. So we need to understand here what is the point in the second paragraph, so that the topic in the third paragraph should be connected to the topic in the second paragraph. So what is the topic in the second paragraph? In the second paragraph, the author says that students do get influenced by the textbooks. So if the textbooks show one particular side of American culture, then students get influenced by that particular side. And after that, he says at the end that given this, careful review of textbooks means textbooks need to be reviewed, they need to be looked at again, right? So that is what is the last point at which this second paragraph stops, which means in the next paragraph should talk about reviewing of textbooks, or how reviewing of this textbook should be done. And therefore, the answer of question number 1 is option A, specific ways to evaluate the biases. Right? So, textbooks have biases, they have one sided view, they have certain sides, certain inclination, and they need to be reviewed, means they need to be evaluated, examined. Reviewing, evaluating, examining, these are similar words. So, the answer of question number 1 is option A. The option B, teacher's role, irrelevant. That is not even point that is discussed anywhere in the passage. No, non-traditional methods of teaching American history. The paragraph is not about various methods such as traditional modern methods of teaching American history. It is about textbooks. So C is eliminated. D, contributions of European migrants. This is completely irrelevant. So whenever you saw, so overall you should remember that most questions, whether they are specific or they are broad questions such as primary purpose questions, they are somehow connected to the main idea. So if this paragraph is about textbooks, American textbooks, and how they show only one side of Native American culture, then if you look at all the answers are somehow related to that particular main idea. So this is what is the power of understanding the main idea. And to understand the main idea, you should pay attention to the structure, as well as sometimes there are certain keywords such as here in a sense and yet, right? Those keywords can be taken as important hints to understand what the passage is mainly about.